channel, That Retired Guy. Yeah, it's me, Daryl, or should I say Daryl John Dutton, because in this video we're going to be talking about the Dutton Ranch. Now I'm going to pick up where I left off last year, in the middle of the pandemic, when I had introduced you all to our project to build a Dutton Ranch up here in Canada. In this video, I hope to share the Dutton experience, and if you're thinking of building your own ranch or homestead in the country, you're invited to come along for the ride. Now, for all you insiders who know just how this all plays out, no spoilers, please. Just kick back, relax, and watch as That Retired Guy shares his experiences with building a ranch up here in Canada. Now, as a reminder where we are in this whole saga, in the first episode, it was all about buying the land. And I gave you a bit of a history of the land here in the Ottawa Valley, and if you haven't seen it, go back and have a look, because it's all about sort of what life was like for the early settlers here in Upper Canada, as it was called at the time. In the second video, it's all about tractors, and yeah, we got a tractor, and she's a beauty. But I'm reminded by the Dutton women folk that beauty is only in the eye of the beholder. When they look at the tractor, all they see is grease and rust. But my son and I, we love her just the same. Love you too, sweetie. Now, when we left off in the last video, my son and I were clearing an access road and a patch of land where we could put up an equipment shelter. So that's where we'll pick up today. Now, you may remember in the earlier videos, I talked about the challenge with clearing the land. It's been left for many years as kind of a furrowed field that's grown over with weeds and shrubs and trees, grasses, that sort of thing. It's basically impassable unless you have a tractor. Now, I've searched out land clearing contractors, and you know, the kind that comes in and they just strip the land with a big heavy equipment. They're going to charge me like $35,000 just to clear my 5-acre parcel of land. And they just leave it all in big burn piles anyway. So, I also checked out the small local contractors just to see what they would charge to cut in a driveway and that sort of thing. Of course, they never get back to you, so I have no idea. Hiring contractors, especially for small jobs, it's nearly impossible. You'll see this problem becomes a recurring theme throughout this project. Anyway, my son and I figure that we could probably do it ourselves. After all, we have a tractor. Now, our plan is to take this plow that we bought and plow everything under, kind of running in the opposite direction of those furrows. And I'm not sure if you remember me talking about the plow, but it's a beauty. It's cast iron Ferguson, built before I was born. It should cut through these fields like no problem. We'll also use that forestry winch that came with the tractor. Just figured out that's what it's for. We can pull out any trees or stumps that have grown really too big. So, I've been watching those YouTube videos, and I'm an expert now. Anyway, we'll cut a driveway in using that loader bucket. So, see, we've got a plan. Who needs those professional contractors anyway? Now, here we go. Our first order of business is to cut in a driveway and put up an equipment shelter. Now, it's October already, so this is probably all we're going to be able to do before the snow flies, but at least we'll be ready to roll out once spring arrives. Now, we managed to cut in the roadway on a Sunday, and we returned to level out a section of ground for the shelter on the next weekend. You know, we're weekend warriors here. Now, it's pretty crude. It's a pretty crude driveway and a parking pad. There's lots of dirt piles, and forget about level. That was a bonus. We agree that a little bit of gravel in the spring, that'll probably fix it all. So now we're on to building an equipment shelter. Well, I should say assembling an equipment shelter, because we bought one of those portable units, portable garage tents from Canadian Tire for $500. Actually, a pretty good deal. Now, for anyone who's never been to Canada, you may be wondering, what is this Canadian Tire? It's just one of those quirky things about Canada. Yeah, they sell tires, but that's probably the smallest part of their business. They're really more like a big box hardware or houseware store. They have something actually for moms and dads. It's as Canadian as Tim Hortons. If you're visiting Canada, grab yourself a Tim's and go shopping at Crappy Tire. Crappy Tire, that's what my dad used to call it. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, we're going to put up one of those garage tents, or as I like to call it here on the ranch, our equipment shelter. Now when I say shelter, it's definitely not a tent. I mean, putting up a tent when you're out camping, that's not too bad. I mean, even those old tents like my parents used to have back in the 50s and 60s, remember those with a big center pole and frames all around and ropes everywhere? This is even harder than that. And I mean, it's a beast. It's 8 feet tall, 12 feet wide, 24 feet long. I mean, we had to have something that big because, of course, we have a tractor and we want to store the thing away. And anyway, such is the price you pay for the little joys in life. So we finally figure out a system on putting this thing up. We're using the truck to help steady it as we put together one piece of the frame at a time. We're bolting them together. Eventually, we're ready to pull the canvas over the frame and tie it all down. Now, this took us a whole day to put this thing together. Here we are working late into the night to get this thing anchored into the ground. Now, it's a great system, though. I mean, it comes with these spiral anchors. They're not going to pull out in the wind. And the dome shape of this makes sure that all the snow rolls off in the wintertime. At least that's the theory. So, I mean, it's finally together. We decide to call it a day or rather a night, and we pack it in. We never thought to bring flashlights. I mean, we're using the truck headlights as best we can, and we'll come back next week and stow everything away in the shelter. So what we didn't expect is that week we had quite a downpour. I mean, things can get pretty wet around here in the fall, and we came out to put the tractor away, got a bit of a surprise. It seems that we had built the shelter over top of a pond. Well, maybe not a pond, but for sure our tractor excavation work leaves a lot to be desired. Or, as my son might say, how much to make it level? Now, we're not moving this thing, so I grab a shovel and try to fill in some of the low spots. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, and so we load it up with as many of the attachments as we can find, and we park the tractor in there for the winter. Winter comes early here in the frozen north, and it's not too long before we're snowed in, so thankfully we got everything tucked away just in time. So with all this snow, I figure it'd probably be a good idea to go and check out how this thing is faring with the snow. That whole theory about the snow sliding off the side, important to check that out. Sure enough, it seems to work just fine. All slides down on the side. There is some snow that builds up on the one side if you let it sit there for any length of time. One thing I noticed though is that the doors, the front door is kind of flapping in the wind, and the back panel as well. So I need to figure some kind of strategy out for attaching that to the ground. Turns out that throughout the winter, these tent pegs that I put in there, they just don't do the trick. Had to get something pretty heavy duty to withstand the pull of the wind. Anyway, seems to work out okay. I check it a couple more times in the winter, and everything seems to be fine. So there you have it, another project complete, phase 3 of the Dutton Ranch. I mean, first was the land, then the tractor, and now the shelter. I like to call this episode Gimme Shelter. The Dutton Ranch is, as the Rolling Stones like to say, just a shot away, just a kiss away. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'll tell the story of architecture, design, and structural engineering. It's riveting. So until next time, be sure to live your best life.